Hello, everyone. Welcome back once again. I am your host, Nicodemus Kane, and this is. I don't know what to call these. Another Psalm reading. I don't know why. I thought I had to do an intro. I was thinking about doing some kind of crazy, weird intro, and I'm like, why? Why? I haven't done one of those intros since the video game years when I used to do video game commentaries. So I don't know. Anyway, today is January the 17th, 2022. We are moving right along. 2 days until January the 19th. That is a 119. Just keep your eyes open. I'm not saying anything's going to happen. I'm just saying just to keep your eyes open. Sometimes they don't even need to make anything big. They just need to, come out and say something. Um, so it's just a matter of being wary. I warned about January the 13th, and we were watching Lilo and Stitch the other day because my granddaughter came over. Yes, I know a lot of people are going to have problems that we're letting her watch Disney. I know I'm right in that boat. It's not a perfect system, but she will be raised to know what the symbols and the symbology and all the other stuff mean. So just for now, let us, at least she hasn't fallen into the trap of the normal Disney movies where they start out with trauma and then you know it's about fighting back from that trauma. Um, in other words, like a father or a mother. It's usually a father dies, and then the kid has to fight their way back. With Lilo and Stitch, it's just everybody just seems like they're automatically an orphan. Anyways, I don't want to talk about Lilo and Stitch. Um, I don't even remember what the heck I was talking about. Anyways, whatever. But we were watching Lilo and Stitch, and it was the 113, the A113, which is supposedly the room that the Pixar guys were using when they were in whatever college they were in together. The arts room. I don't remember the exact story, but it's one of those things where it's like, oh, how coincidental that you happen to be in the 113 room when 113 or 311, whichever way you want to say, just happens to be one of the numbers that the elites use to communicate with each other. Just a coincidence, though. Nothing to worry about here. Everything you know is fake. Just gonna say that right now. Everything you know is fake. So, anyways, just wanted to say that. Now that I've burned 3 minutes before we actually read a psalm, there's so much other stuff I could say. This has been a weekend. I'll tell you what. This has been a weekend. Today we're going to read Psalm 90. This is the start of Book 4 of the Psalms. This is Psalm 90. This is a prayer of Moses, the man of God. So we'll get through this. If you give me 20 seconds of dead air, we can begin. So hold on. Here's some dead air for you. Enjoy yourself, son. Think about the theme to Jeopardy or something. Okay. How many of you were actually thinking about the opening theme to Jeopardy? Ah, I caught you there, didn't I? You say the theme to Jeopardy, and everybody wants to think about the waiting theme to answering the questions, but nobody ever thinks about the opening theme to Jeopardy. Um, I always like the '80s theme to Jeopardy that kind of had that disco feel. I hope I'm thinking about the right Jeopardy. I don't know. I can't go look it up because copyrights. Anyways, yes. it's one of those tricks. It's one of those sleight of hands that magicians use. They talk about one thing, but they're really talking about another thing. I got some magician stuff for you. I'm going to tell you all how the magician does their tricks, but we're going to go through Psalm 90, and hopefully we'll be able to have time. It's just now getting on to 5 o'clock, so usually these things, we should be able to do it. It's not that long. 17 verses. All right, so here's Psalm 90. Lord, thou hast been our dwelling place in all generations. Before the mountains were brought forth, or ever thou hast formed the earth and the world. Even from everlasting to everlasting, thou art God. Thou turnest man to destruction, and sayest, Return, ye children of men. For 1,000 years in thy sight are but as yesterday when it is past, and as a watch in the night. Thou carriest them away as with a flood. They are as asleep. In the morning they are like grass which groweth up. In the morning it flourisheth, and groweth up. In the evening it is cut down and withered. For we are consumed by thine anger, and by thy wrath are we troubled. Thou hast set our iniquities before thee, our secret sins in the light of thy countenance. For all our days are passed away in thy wrath. We spend our years as a tale that is told. The days of our years are 60 years and 10, and if by reason of strength they be 80 years, yet is their strength labor and sorrow, for it is soon cut off, and we fly away. Who knoweth the power of thine anger? Even according to thy fear, so is thy wrath. So teach us to number our days, that we may apply our hearts unto wisdom. Return, O Lord, how long? And let it repent thee concerning thy servants. O satisfy us early in thy mercy, that we may rejoice and be glad all our days. Make us glad according to the days wherein thou hast afflicted us, and the years wherein we have seen evil. Let thy work appear unto thy servants, and thy glory unto their children. And let the beauty of the Lord our God be upon us, and establish thou the work of our hands upon us. Yea, the work of our hands, establish thou it. Amen. Okay, so I shall take a quick drink, clear my throat. We will go through this one again. There's a couple things we could talk about. So give me another, 20 seconds of dead air. We'll come back. Okay. That's what my granddaughter does. She, whenever she's playing by herself, or sometimes whenever we tell her to do something, she'll be like, okay. She's the best. She got to spend the night with us last night, so I am just overjoyed. You can tell it. You can tell it in my voice. I am happy. we got to have her. We got to have her most of the day yesterday, and I am so happy when she comes over. She is my absolute ball of light in this world of darkness. She really is. She is amazing too. She's past 3. She's what is it, 3.5 now, getting close to that point, and she's learning so many words, and she's she's learning so many different things. Her new thing now is why not? You know, when you tell her no to something, she's like, why not? Think you are rotten. You know, most kids I ever knew always said, why? She says, why not? I said, because I said so, baby. Why not? She's too good. She's just too good. All right. let's go back over this. Psalm 90, let's start from the beginning. Lord, thou hast been our dwelling place in all generations. Before the mountains were brought forth, and ever thou hast formed the earth and the world, even from everlasting to everlasting, thou art God. Now, when I read that as I was getting set up, just, going over the verses, I thought that said, before the mountains are brought forth and before you form the earth, that you had known us in the dwelling place. I thought that's what it said, and I stopped and I reread it again. I said, no, that was just me putting something into it. But I am pretty sure that's probably how it works. I mean, maybe not before he created the world, but he knew us before we were ever born, and he has known all of our names since the very beginning, because all of our names are written in the book of life. People don't seem to. One of the arguments I see a lot is if your name is written in the book of life or not, and I go with the Rob Skiba school of thought on it, is that your name is written in the book of life. It is at the end where you can get your name blotted out. You want your name to stay in the book, not to be blotted out. I mean, it almost makes sense to a point that everyone that was alive, except for certain people that were never supposed to be born to begin with, everyone that is alive will be written in a book of life, because that's what you do. If you're going to make a book of groceries, you would write down all the groceries that you want, and if there was something you didn't want, you just mark it out. It's the same concept, if that makes sense. I'm not trying to compare us to groceries. I'm just saying that. But that's what I thought those two verses said, and I was like, ooh, but then no, it wasn't. I had to reread it. So, sometimes you have to reread these things to be able to, really get. Again, that's why we reread them twice, is because I can go through it once and then I might miss something, or there's something might stick in my head. So I'm like, well, we should probably go back and at least look at that and see what's going on. So it always helps to kind of reread what you've seen. I mean, because there will always be something else that will open up to you. The Bible is a living book. It is absolutely a living book. Verse 3. Thou turnest man to destruction and sayest, return ye children of men, because he always wants you to come back to him. For 1,000 years in thy sight are but as yesterday when it is past, and as a watch in the nights. And here's another one of those where we've talked about this a couple weeks back, maybe even a month back, about how people like that notion of this 7,000 year calendar that we're on, that one day is 1,000 years, that, God made the earth in 6 days, and then on the seventh day he rested, and that's our timeline, is that we got 4,000 years before the birth of Christ, and then we have 2,000 years until everything falls apart, and then we have the 1,000 year reign in Christ. Similar to that, pretty much, which means we're right at the end of the timeline. Which sounds good, and it preaches really well, just like what's his face? I can never remember his name, because I haven't listened to him in so long, because he just got way off track. What was his name? Can't remember. Anyways, but it preaches well. It sounds good, and I'm not going to say it is, and I'm not going to say it isn't. That's something that each individual person is going to have to find out for themselves. I have yet to find any real concrete evidence other than it saying stuff like this is 1,000 years for God is as one 1,000 years for us is as one day for God. That's what it is. And there's several places where it says it. That doesn't mean that's what it is. It might mean it's. There might be something in there that we have to look into. That's not where I'm being led. So I'm not going to be one of those that say, "Oh yeah, we're at the end of the 6,000 years. We need to watch out because it's all yeah, it's all falling apart, and yeah, it just happens to be that we're right at the end of the time." Sure, but the calendar has been messed up. The calendar has been played with and used to trick us. So we don't know for sure if it's been 2,000 years since anything. Um, it's everything that I've seen, and I've kind of put the puzzle pieces together, show us that it may not have even been 1,000 years since Christ was born, Christ died for us, and then all this other stuff has happened. I mean, the manipulation is everywhere. So I don't know. I'm not going to say one way or another. I'm just going to say that some people believe that, some people don't, and that's just one of those verses where it says it. So you have to kind of find that out for yourself, and I'm sure somebody somewhere could point to another one, but I've never seen any concrete proof that that's what's going on. I think the only book I've seen where it actually says, there will be X amount of years, and I think it's Enoch, and I think that says there's 10,000. Which people talk about the possibility that things are 10,000 years old. So I don't know, because there's still the 4,000 plus years of history in China that we have to, I mean, these people kept very specific, very detailed records for the past 4,000 years. Um, but then again, it's China who can, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not trying to say I know anything. This is just stuff that I've overheard over the years. I wish I could find those videos to go back to it and point it out and say, see, it'd be like DiCaprio in that movie where he's pointing at the TV. That was a good movie, by the way. But, yeah, that's just one of those things. Just pointing that out. 1,000 years of sight, but as yesterday is past, watch in the night. Thou carriest them away as with a flood. They are as a sleep. In the morning they are like grass which groweth up. In the morning it flourisheth and groweth up, and in the evening it is cut down and withered. Contemplate that one for a little bit. For we are consumed by thine anger, and by thy wrath are we troubled. Thou hast set our iniquities before thee, our secret sins in the light of thy countenance. That's one to think about, too. That actually has a couple little psalms, some verses that we could probably go back and look at if we wanted to. I just wanted to see. This is Psalm 50. Psalm 50, verse 21. These things hast thou done, and I kept silence. Thou thoughtest that I was altogether such an one as thyself, but I will reprove thee and set them in order before thine eyes. The heck does that have to do with that? See, sometimes I think this printing of this Bible might be wrong. I don't know. But if you go to Psalm 19, verse 12, who can understand his errors? Cleanse thou me from secret faults. From secret faults. Something that I've heard before. As somebody said, when you pray, don't just pray for the Father to forgive you of your sins that you know. Ask him to forgive you of the sins that you don't know. Ask him to show you what you can do to repent yourself from the sins that you don't know. Ask him to show you what they are and then step away from them. Because there are probably plenty of them that we don't know. I know there's tons of them that I probably don't know that I'm doing, that I need to ask him to just show me. Don't just forgive me for the things that I've done that I know that are going against you, that you don't want me to do. What are the things that I need to fix that I don't know what I'm doing? Because I'm sure that there has to be some. Because the Father knows. Because there's just a lot of things that he doesn't want us to do. There really is. It's not. The law in the Old Testament had a lot of things to do. It had a lot of things that you needed to watch out for, because he was trying to get people out of that mindset, that Egyptian mindset, that, Babylonian mindset, the rules that were there before, that were that were basically there just to keep slaves in line and to let filthy, dirty people get away with murder. That's what they were. It's people think the Egyptians were a very great and cultured people that just walked down the streets and were happy and healthy and all this other kind of stuff. It's like, no, the Egyptians were just like the Romans. They were just like the Greeks. They were just like the Persians. They were just like all the rest of them. Is that they could take people out in the middle of the street and kill them if they needed to. There were whorehouses on every block. They were practicing some of the worst sexual deviancy that they could. I mean, it spreads back to Sodom and Gomorrah. There are stories about Sodom and Gomorrah that, I don't think that the Romans and the Greeks were that bad. I think they did most of their stuff in private, and I'm sure that, but there's still these artifacts and drawings and all of this other stuff left over from the Egyptians, from the, what was the first ones? Oh, come on. I can't think of their names now. It'll come back to me. But the cultures before that, where it was just this sexual deviancy. It's not the stuff you see. It's not the mainstream stuff that you'll ever see in your textbooks in schools. There's not a lot you're going to see there anyways, because they don't want you knowing the full truth. But for somebody like me that's looked into a lot of weird, crazy stuff over the years, that's seen these things, it's out there. These things are out there. That there were, what was the one, the Nova special that they did on Pompeii, where they talked about sex in Pompeii. Something you never knew about. Where the guy was going down the streets of Pompeii, because they've uncovered it down to a point to where they really started seeing what's going on, and they started finding these drawings on the side of buildings where it was these guys that were having these, I don't want to say sexual advances, but it's like these. It was insinuating that men were able to find little children. Yeah, that sounds sick and perverted. I know. But that's what they were finding on the sides of these buildings. And they said Pompeii was not a very good place. They said this is pretty indicative of what we see in pretty much all of Rome. It's just, you don't see this side of Rome, because we kind of keep this quiet, because not many people will understand it. But it's like, but that's the culture. That's what these cultures did. You can't hide this stuff from us. You need to tell us. But they don't want to tell us, because they don't want us knowing that, it was that bad back then. they're doing their best to try to make it that bad now because that's what they liked. So these things have been around forever like that. And you just don't hear about it. And it's so hard to try to convince people otherwise. Oh, no, no, they were civilized. They were. Just because Egypt had all these slaves and all this stuff didn't mean that, they were that bad of people. And it was all flowing, glowing cities and all. And it's like, no. I'm sorry. I've seen enough Egyptian hieroglyphs and paintings of Egyptians with boners. I know. Can I say boners? But I've seen enough of them where it was, sexually charged that they were putting this stuff up on walls. And if they were putting this stuff up on walls in public spaces, that means that they were okay with this stuff being out in the open. Because nowadays, we don't like the perversion to be too out in the open, even though, man, it's getting way out in the open right now. But back then, that they were putting this stuff, painting this on the walls, painting this on the floor, on the ground, inside the houses. And it was okay for them to do it. That's why I say all the evil in this world was out in the open for a long time until, somebody decided, hey, let's just take it behind the scenes. That way nobody can see it, nobody will hurt us. We could do it behind the scenes, behind closed doors. We can wear masks while we're doing it too. But that's what happened. It all went behind the scenes. So where were we? Like the secret sins? Really? Like everything was in secrets? Like, wow, man, I get off on these tangents, dude. I tell you what. But yeah, the secret sins that everything has been pulled back into secret. How did I get? Man, I'd have to go back and listen to that. Holy smoke! Sometimes I do that. It's like I'll get on a tangent and I'll go way off base, and then whenever I come back, I'm like, what was I talking about? Wow. Let's get through this though, man. I'm looking at the time. I mean, I'm still doing good, but holy smokes. I set our iniquities before thee, our secret sins in the light of thy countenance. Okay. For all our days are passed away in thy wrath. We spend our years as a tale that is told. We spend our years as a tale that is told. The days of our years are 60 years and 10, which is 70. And if by reason of strength they be 80 years, yet is their strength labor and sorrow, for it is soon cut off, and we fly away. The days of our years are supposed to be about 70 and 80. That's about where it leveled off at. That's average lifespan of a human, 70 or 80. You get to 80 through hard work. You get past that through pharmaceuticals. it's I still say that people kept that age pretty well. 70, 80. If you got past that, you were lucky as all get out. It's only within the past couple hundred years through all of these medicines that people have somehow managed to live longer. It's very unnatural, and they want to keep extending that. They don't want you to die. I don't know why. I have no clue why, but they don't. They want the vast majority of people off of the world, and that's a given. They want that, definitely. But for some reason, for whoever's left, they just don't want you to die. They want you to somehow live forever. Unless that's a lie, too. But, at the end of the Bible, it says that people will beg for death, but it will not come. And they have several things in place right now that will keep you alive forever, that they're talking about. We just take this pill or take this shot or take this whatever, or we'll upload your consciousness into a robot, whatever, where you get to live forever. So there's something to all of that. I don't know. This also ties into everything that was pre-flood, where these boys were living for, 700, 800, 900 years. And because there was a lot more oxygen on the other side of the flood, on the first side of the flood, which helped things grow better, which helped things live longer, and which helped things exist better. It was a very, very beautiful place. And we found out that, nowadays people will go sleep in oxygen tanks in order to, heal themselves. Pure oxygen tanks. And that's probably what it was. It was pure oxygen, pre-flood, where these guys were living for, hundreds and hundreds of years. They were probably 4 times bigger than we are now. Actually, just had a conversation about this on a Facebook thing this weekend. It was an interesting weekend. I already said that. Where somebody was saying, somebody was saying that giants didn't exist. That there's no biblical evidence or something like that, or that it was, I cannot remember the exact. It happened on Friday, so I don't really remember what it was, but it was, they were. It was basically saying that anything over 7 or 8 feet tall, was pretty big, but they were, there was no way possible that anything could be over 30 or 40 feet tall. It's just not real. It's just not possible. It's not a thing. It's just stories. Pretty much is what it was. Somebody's Facebook post. Whew, man. Some of these Facebook groups that I've found, are just like, like you're talking about like the biblical flat Earth, or you're talking about, biblical proving the Bible through, whatever. I don't remember exactly what it was. They have just been infiltrated by these shills, and all they want to do is just go on there and just, talk the lamest crap that I've heard over and over again. But it shows you just the loops, the hoops, not the loops, the hoops that people will jump through to try to keep their lies of the world perpetuated. It's just absurd. But anyways, I said something along the lines of, if you're using the average height of a human now in reference to what happened pre-flood, you're doing it wrong. So we weren't this short back then. This was an oxygen-rich environment. We are finding out that everything from bugs to lizards to elephants to dogs, cats, whatever, everything was 4 times bigger than it was. And there's no reason why humans shouldn't be that big either. I mean, we can go talk about Tartaria stuff if you want to. We can go talk about the big, we can do that. We're not going to right now, though. I said, the giants, when they talk about giants, they're not talking about anybody that's over 8 feet tall. They're talking about anybody that's over 30, 40 feet tall. And I did the whole thing with the from the, what was it, the Book of Enoch, where it says that they were 30 ells tall, I think it was. And an ell comes out to be like, oh, what was it, 300 feet something. I don't remember exactly what it was, man. It's been so long. I even said that in the post too. I said it's been so long since I've looked that kind of stuff up that I have my Book of Enoch right beside me. What am I doing? And I have the page marked, and I should be able to go right to it because I'm that kind of guy. But I was basically saying, you can't when they talk about these guys, they talk about the size of these guys. They're not. They're not just talking about 13-foot monsters. Giants eating men. Oh, 3,000 elves. I was wrong. Holy smokes. And they became pregnant. So this is chapter 7, Enoch 7. And they became pregnant, and they bare great giants, whose height was 3,000 ells, who consumed all the acquisitions of men. And when men could no longer sustain them, the giants turned against them and devoured mankind. Which goes right along with the. What did he say? Was it? Did he say Deuteronomy 13:33? I think it was. I could be wrong on that. Where they said that there was an evil report. They went out and they brought an evil report, and they said that the inhabitants of the land consume the people of the land, or something like that. Which is this too. That's the giants were cannibals. 3,000 ells. Anyways, 3,000 ells, ELL. I looked up, and an L, depending on where you find it. Some places will say an L isn't nearly as big as they think it is. Other people will say an L is pretty big. An L could be anywhere between 27 and 45 feet. Again, some places say that it's... Or 25 inches, I'm sorry. Anything between 27 and 45 inches. Some people have said it's smaller. I've seen places where it said it's only 8 inches. Some have said where it's 5 inches. Whatever, still, 3,000 L's is pretty big boy. But 3,000 L's, I don't know if I did the bigger number or the smaller number. I must have done the smaller number. Came out to like 6,750 feet, 3,000 L's, which is a mile. And that's on the low end. I even have it written down, low end. A mile, 6,000 feet. And you want to talk about trees that they said that they can see from one side of the world to the other? Giants. Giant trees. Giant men. Somebody had to cut these big trees down. Sure enough, these boys, and then you hear about in the book of Jasher, I think it is, where they talk about Og of Bashan, when he was fighting Moses, and he said, watch as I try to kill all of Israel in one fell blow. So he turns around and he rips the top off of a mountain. And I don't remember if in the book it actually says how big the mountain was. I think somehow I came up with 3 miles, which means that he had a 3-mile stretch. This is post-flood. This is the story that they were saying, post-flood, that he had a 3-mile stretch. I don't remember where I got this number from. This is, but he was able to pick up this rock that was 3 miles wide, and I think it even says in the book that the people of Israel were that, they took up that much space. I don't remember. It's been a while since I've read Jasher too, and I don't know where my Jasher is. It is somewhere in this room. It has not been pulled out of a box yet from the move. But he held this giant rock above his head, and I was like, well, he's got to have this wingspan to be able to hold this rock. And, a normal man's wingspan is just a little bit longer than his height, I think it is. I'm 5'10", 5'11", give or take. And my wingspan is like 6 feet. I think it's how it works. It could be shorter. I don't remember exactly how it works. But it's about the same. The wingspan is about the height, give or take. Some people it's different, some people it's not. But for most people, the wingspan's about right. So whatever his wingspan was, his arm length to be able to reach around to grab this thing, that's how tall he was. And, it's all big tales. And again, we don't know exactly what all of these measurements were, because a lot of this stuff has been lost, and a lot of the A lot of the information we have only comes from the internet, and a lot of those people want to hide stuff. So we don't know. But that was one of the big things, was that these guys were big. They were huge. This was part of the argument. And, it's like whoever it was that was saying it, they were just wanting to start some crap. They didn't really care about what it was. But, you have to talk the truth. You have to speak the truth. You have to say, you can say this, but these books say this. I can't prove or deny this. I'm just saying, this and this and this. And, I mean, that gets into the whole, every mountain is a man. Not every mountain is a giant, but there are sure a lot of them that look like giants. And the world is pretty big, especially if you go by the new the new moon maps, where they talk about the world that we know is only like a third of the map, or maybe a quarter of the map, whatever. If you talk about the new moon maps, then yeah, giants would have no problems existing in this world. It's way bigger than we could ever even imagine. One of the first things I ever said when I started looking at this is that all of this is way bigger and deeper and crazier than we could ever remotely possibly imagine. And it's been hidden from us for so long, and we just don't know the truth. Some people say that some of us aren't going to be able to handle the truth. Probably not, because there's a lot there. It's really really deep stuff, but at the same time, it's like I want to know, man. I gotta know this stuff. I've seen enough now, and I've questioned enough now that it's like I gotta understand what's going on here, because this stuff gets deep. It gets pretty crazy, pretty deep, and it gets pretty crazy, pretty deep really quick, especially once you start moving outside that Bible. Once you just shift right off that Bible, just that little bit, start getting into some of the books that people start talking about. Not to mention the way apocryphal stuff that just gets out of hand. Uh, anyways, I try to keep within like Enoch and Jasher, and Jubilees to a point. That's not so far off the map, but once you start getting way off, you start getting into some of those old Jewish fairy tales of Og riding a unicorn, not the horse, a rhinoceros, but you hear Og riding a unicorn that's tied up on the side of the ark. We had this conversation this weekend too. This weekend was such a weird weekend. I gotta get to it. And I'm running out of time. I'm probably not gonna be able to get to it. Anyways, that has to do with pre-flood, where everybody was older, everybody was bigger, everybody lived way longer. Just saying. Okay, verse 11. Who knoweth the power of thine anger? Even according to thy fear, so is thy wrath. So teach us to number our days, that we may apply our hearts unto wisdom. So teach us to number our days, so we can number our days. That doesn't mean we celebrate our days. We can number our days. Because there's still nothing in the Bible that says that, you celebrate a birthday. You can number your days, but don't celebrate birthdays. There's nothing that ever says celebrate your birthdays. You know who celebrates birthdays? Satanists. Because Satanists say that their best and biggest holiday is their birthday. Y'all want to follow some Satanists? Yeah. We ought to think about what we're doing. I know people don't like to hear that either. I got to give up birthdays too? Well, maybe. I don't know. There's nothing. Somebody said there's 2 birthdays that are celebrated in the Bible. 2, and it ain't Christ. Both of them are heathens. One of them, I don't remember who it was. It's Old Testament. The other one was, what's his name? Herod, the guy that found out that, what was the one? It was the guy who was married to the girl that went back to her mom. He said for his birthday he was going to give her whatever she wanted, and she asked for the head of John the Baptist. That was a birthday. That's what that was. John the Baptist died as a birthday present. Think about that for a second. And then there was another one that was similar to that. I can't remember what it was. So there's only two birthdays that are ever celebrated in the Bible, and one of them is not Christ. So, and I'm not talking about the day of birth. I'm talking about a birthday, the holiday that you have to celebrate the day that you were born in the world. Which again is the holiday that the Satanist inside of the Satanic Handbook, the book of Satan, whatever it is, that they say, should we celebrate holidays? And they say, well, not entirely. You can celebrate whatever holiday you want, because do what thou wilt, which shall be the whole of the law. But if you're going to celebrate a holiday, the holiday you should probably be celebrating should be your birthday, because for a Satanist, the best day in the world for you was the day that you were born, because you're born into the evil of this world. So celebrate it. Be happy. Teach us to number our days, that we may apply our hearts unto wisdom, but don't let us celebrate. Return, O Lord. Again, some people don't like it. I'm sorry, but people don't like to hear that your entire life is a lie. Return, O Lord, how long? And let it repent thee concerning thy servants. O satisfy us early with thy mercy, that we may rejoice and be glad all of our days. Amen. Make us glad according to the days wherein thou hast afflicted us, and the years wherein we have seen evil. Let thy work appear unto thy servants, and thy glory unto their children, and let the beauty of the Lord our God be upon us. And establish thou the work of our hands upon us. Yea, the work of our hands, establish thou it. Okay. Yeah, God, man, I'm right on top of it, too. I spent so much time talking about Giants and all this other stuff that I didn't get to talk about the stuff I was wanting to talk about. Hold on a second. So let's do it quick. Uh, Beautiful song, though. That's a good one. I can live with that. So one of the guys on one of these Facebook groups that have been infiltrated by just the shit jerkiest kind of people in the world. Again, I'm a part of those groups because it's a laugh at this point. Some guy gets on there asking some flat Earth people, because it was a biblical flat Earth group, how to explain water draining, because he had personally seen it himself, probably in a video. He had personally seen it himself, where you can be on one side of the equator and water flows one way, and you can be on the other side of the equator and water flows the other way. And if you're dead smack on the equator, then you can see the water go right down, and there's no splashing or moving or anything at all. It just goes straight down the drain. And he said, this is the hardest thing that I'll ever be able to get over with the flat earth stuff, and I think you're all stupid, but if you can prove me wrong on this. So I took up the challenge. The first thing I said was that the water in a toilet, the water in a sink, the water in a drain moves the way that the water came into the sink or tub. Toilets in the northern hemisphere, if you want to call it that, they move a certain way because they blow the water a certain way. And I even said there are toilets that actually blow it the opposite direction that are up here because they do it as a joke. And I've seen these toilets, and it's disconcerting to watch because you get so used to watching these things flow clockwise, and then it's like these are just they're backwards, and they're just it's strange to see. I said I've seen that myself. I said they're a joke. I've seen it I've seen it on the other side too. Some Australian guy with a video said that he pulled a toilet from the north, and it flowed the opposite direction. He said, that it was supposed to in Australia, and he said, this is something that happens. And I said, in my personal experience, which I have done this myself, I have tied a string to a drain that was right dead smack in the middle, because it's got to be right in the middle, because if the hole is on the back end, then it will move different, because the water has to move back towards the back. If it's right dead smack in the middle of the drain, it will flow straight down the drain. If it hits something while it's draining, it might spin. You never know. But if it's right dead smack in the middle, it'll all flow straight down into that. I said, I've seen that. Done it for myself because I wanted to prove for myself that I could do it. Pull that plunger straight up, water just drops straight down. There's not even like a little vortex or anything in the middle at all. It just drops straight down. It's an interesting thing. So what is this? I'm warming up the computer. Warming up the computer, and I'm already starting to see stuff. My lead was on yesterday. Yesterday was Sunday. What are you doing on Sunday? It's crazy. So, anyways, though, as far as that's concerned, it's how the water moves in the tub or toilet or whatever it is. Whatever the container is, it's how the water moves. If the drain is on any parts of that container, if it's in the back, it's going to move towards the back. If it's in the front, it's going to move towards the front. It's going to be weird. It's the water. It's the way the water moves in the container. And of course, he said something about it's muckety muck, stupid nonsense. Blah blah blah. I don't know what you're talking about. All that stuff. So I was like, well, Of course, he also said something about just watch the video, which he didn't link any kind of video whatsoever for me. He linked one to the whole conversation. So I watched the video, and it was this woman that she was sitting there, and she was sitting there on the supposed equator line that she was talking about. She went on for probably a good 2 or 3 minutes. She was talking about how all the water's going to go, and you take it over here, it's going to do this, go do that, blah blah blah, all that stuff. And so she reaches straight down into the thing, pulls a plug, and the water just dumps right there. She takes some leaves, she throws those leaves in the thing, and they all dump straight down. Okay, that's fine. So she picks up this tub, somebody else picks up the water, and they keep filming while they're doing this. She takes it over to one side, she takes the water, dumps it into the tub, and then dumps it back into this container, throws these leaves in, and sure enough, the water spins down a certain way, and I think it spins clockwise if I remember right. So she takes it, pulls it over, pulls it back to the other side of this line, sets it down, dumps the water in, and sure enough, on that side, the water goes counterclockwise. It's amazing. You could do it right on the thing, and it's like, oh goodness, it proves it right there. It's a magician's trick. I've seen several videos of people that will stand there on this supposed equator that will pour water into these basins, pull the plug, throw some leaves in it, and you can see the water going a certain way. It's a magician's trick. Does anybody here know what the trick is? Anyone? I'm going to tell you what the trick is. It's a very easy sleight of hand. Very easy. Some of these guys actually will do a sleight of hand as they put their hand in the water. They will twist the cap as they pull out. I've seen that before too. It's a little more subtle, but it still gets the water moving just enough. Water actually, if you can get it moving underneath the surface, water does a lot of interesting things, and water's always moving under the surface. Everything you see happening on top is nothing, but underneath the surface, water's constantly moving. It doesn't take much. That's the trick. That's part of the trick. Is that it's your own ignorance of water that they use against you. So how did this work? Well, the video started and she's sitting there talking. And she talked, like I said, for a good minute and a half, 2 minutes. I don't remember exactly how long it was. While she was standing there talking, the water was settled. It wasn't moving. It was completely flat, completely stationary. And when she put her hand in, she put her hand in straight down, pulled the plug straight up, threw some leaves into it, and the whole thing just went straight out into the thing. The water wasn't moving. So then she takes the container, goes over to one side, takes the bucket, pours it into the left side of the container. And when you pour water into the left side of the container, it immediately starts going clockwise around the container. Now here's the trick, okay? That's part of it, is when you put the water's moving, instantaneously moving. She did not stop to let the water settle. She immediately threw the water in. While it's going, the surface looked like it stopped, like it flat, but underneath the water surface, it's moving. Because water moves all the time, because it's a very fluid entity. Right now it's spinning because she threw it in on the left side of the tub, and it's moving underneath. It's moving clockwise underneath. But she didn't wait for the water to settle. She threw the water in, almost immediately put her hand down, pulled the plug. I couldn't see exactly how she pulled the plug, but she went down, pulled the plug, threw the leaves in, and then the water was turning clockwise, the way that she put the water into the tub, because the water was already moving that way. So she picks up her basin. She goes to the other side. She takes it. When she picks it up, she takes it. She turns her body completely to walk to the other side of the line and immediately sits it down. That means that when she put the water in on the one side, she put it in on the left side. So then she takes the water now and puts it into the right side. That means that when the water comes down into the basin on the right side, it's going to immediately start curving to the left, which means it's going to start going counterclockwise. Yet again, she didn't wait for the water to settle, immediately put her hand down in, pulled the plug, threw the leaves in, and sure enough, the water flowed down into the drain counterclockwise. It's a magician's trick. It's there to trick the rubes because they don't know any better. It's a game of ignorance. Now, why do these people do this? Because they're paid shills. They're paid to do this to show you. It's like your science teachers at your school. Your science teachers have never done the amount of work and research to be able to know what the hell they're talking about. They went through standardized schooling just like you, and what they did was they went to a school of teaching. Instead of going to a school of learning, they went to a school of teaching to be taught how to teach. They don't know what they're talking about. They are just regurgitating what they were told to tell you. They don't know any better. It's a magician's trick from the very beginning. Everything you know is a lie. When I say that, I mean it. Everything you know is a lie, from the top to the bottom. But this right there, this whole water nonsense on the equator crap, it's a trick. It's a trick. Go do it yourself. Go get a tub yourself. Pour it in on one side and then immediately pull the plug and see which way it goes. And then pour the water in on the other side without moving and see which way it goes. It's going to go the way that you pour the water in the tub. I've seen it so many times. It's a magician's trick. It's sleight of hand. It's absurd that people will just believe it. And then whoever it was that was, doing this, she had like 5, 6 people out there, and they all look like, they all look like average Americans. They all had their phones out and their cameras out, and they all had their little fanny packs and, had their shorts on and probably had 5 gallons of mosquito repellent on and suntan lotion, and all of them looked like they were just the normal standard tourist Americans, and they were going to believe whatever the heck the foreign woman, the South American foreign woman said to them, because she had to have lived there forever. She had to have known how this works. They're paid. They're paid actors. You can't prove that they're paid actors. You can't not prove that they're paid actors. If they're part of the park or whatever it was that was there, they're definitely paid actors. They're just paid to tell you what they know. It's the same as the argument we had about the pendulum, the Foucault's pendulum. Is that you can't just set it up for yourself and just go. Is it has to be set up in a very specific way, and then you have to put movement on it for it to be able to do its thing. It's a trick. If somebody says that these experiments that you do have to be done in a very specific way in order to get them to work right, then they're not real. Because this is the kind of stuff that you should be able to do all the time. It should be happening all the time. But it doesn't happen all the time. And it's very easy to see through a lot of these tricks that they pull. It's just a trick. It's just a trick that has either been perpetuated or that somebody somewhere is paid to do. And of course people say, somebody paid to have, somebody paid to have somebody else lie to somebody because of the thing. Yeah. If you had a $20 billion a year lie, what would you do to protect it? If you were making $20 billion a year based upon a lie, what would you do to protect that lie? Any damn thing you could is what you would be doing. $50 million a day. $50 million a day. What would you do to protect that investment? If you were a bad person who didn't really have very many morals, even if you're a good person, you might even fall for it. But bad people that don't have any morals will do everything in their power, including going to somebody and saying, hey, I will pay you X amount of dollars a year if you just go out and do this a certain way. That's all you have to do. Some people will give in a lot easier than others. I've used the argument so many times where I've said, how much money would it take for you to be able to lie about something like that? Some people might say, $20, $30 million. How much money would it take for you to lie per year? 10, 20 million? Some people sell out for far less than that. Some people will think $1 million a year and they'll be fine. Psh, $1 million a year is nothing. It's chump change. These people are making $50 million a day. And they're worried about one person getting $1 million a year. Some people don't even need that. Some people might just want $500,000 a day or a year. Some people might want more. And you know what? If some people might want more, maybe they just have an accident. It doesn't take much. These are bad people we're dealing with that are willing to do everything in their power to keep their lie going. And they will use every trick in the book against you because they don't care about you. They're laughing at you. They're laughing at you because you're so stupid to keep falling for it. That's the truth. That's the truth. That's exactly what they're saying. These people are so dumb they keep falling for it. It doesn't take much. It does not take much at all to not only find somebody to it doesn't take much to trick you first. And it doesn't take much to find somebody that will trick you. It's what else do you want me to say? And again, if somebody asks for more, they can disappear. These people make other people disappear. That's how it's been. Just think about all those people that supposedly had all that information they were going to bring out in late 90s, early 2000s. They kept saying all these whistleblowers that were going to bring all this information out, and and every single one of them slowly but surely dropped off dead because of some reason or another. You don't think that these people don't have that, don't have power to be able to make you disappear? It is a magician's trick. It is sleight of hand 101. And that's exactly what I saw in that video, and I told that guy that that's what that is. And of course, as soon as he heard that, he went on an ad hominem attack. He dropped. He probably didn't even listen to the argument I made. I even told him, I said, you have standing water at the beginning of that. You have water where she put it on the left side, and sure enough, that the water flowed clockwise down the drain. And then when she pulled it to the other side and she poured the water in from the right side, the water flowed counterclockwise down the drain. I said it's a magician's trick. But of course, like I said, it became an ad hominem attack after that, just like they all do, because people their first instinct whenever they hear something that they don't want to hear is to blame you because somehow you're the problem. It's not the information, you're the problem. So whatever. So much other stuff happened this week, this weekend. But I don't have time. It is now 6:02. I am 2 minutes past. I've already got the computer all warmed up and ready to go, so I need to actually go to work. I'm going to end on one more thing, just real quick. If you know you live in a deception, let's say a deception of a worldwide disease outbreak. If you live in the deception and if you know it's part of a deception, then by selling yourself out to testing and quarantining and doing what is right, by giving into that system, you are perpetuating that deception. You're part of the problem. You're not part of the solution. That's all I have to say about that. That was an argument that came up this weekend. And blows my mind to hear certain people say certain things. So, I don't know. I don't know. Just blows my mind to hear certain people say certain things. And there's a deception, and yet you want to keep perpetuating a deception by talking about testing and quarantining and doing the right thing, and yet you still know there's a deception, that it's part of a deception. I can't help you. I can't help you. You have you can't. There's a reason why Christ flipped tables and called certain people hypocrites. There's a reason, because you can't be on one side or the other. If you're not going to fight this fight all the way through, then you're going to get what you deserve. I I don't know what else to say other than that. It just blows my mind. Just blows my mind. Anyways, I have to stop. Thank you guys for listening once again. I think we had a good discussion. Man, I could go for another hour. I know I could, because what a weekend. Wow, what a weekend. Man, sometimes you get those weekends you're just like, dude, what in the world just happened? So we might talk about more if I can remember it, but I doubt it. So I shall talk to you guys later. Uh, I'm not going to try to extend this just to get past the 111 mark. Just know that I'm not doing it on purpose. So, anyways, I shall see you guys later. God bless. Take care. And, man, stop living the lie, will you? Jeez. Talk to you later. Bye. No, I can't. No. Sorry, I have to take a drink. No, I'm not going to stop it here either. Because the last thing I'm going to do is sit there and talk to you guys about the A113, and then I'm going to wind up looking at the time stamp, and it's a 1:11:30. No. All right, now I'm going to stop it. You all take care of yourselves, and I shall talk to you tomorrow.